নাও।
বলছে এটা দেবে সাতটা মুখছে না আমি মূল্য কেন এটা জানি না, তুই এটা কর আগে, পরে দেখবি। বাইরে কারো হয়েছে না, বক্সের মধ্যে নেই। এটা তো আমার আমি গীতা ক্লাস করছিলাম তখনই তো আসছিল এটা।
না না এমনি নাম, এটা এইটার নাম
না রে, আমার আমার মিসেসের নাম দিয়ে দিয়ে।
কানেক্টেড,
হ্যাঁ,
কানেক্টেড না তো।
তা কি করে জানিস? কেউ আসছিল
এটার নাম, এটার নাম
না
না,
রে,
ডিভাইস নেম মানে এই ডিভাইসটা।
না
হ্যাঁ এই ডিভাইসটা হলো
দেখ ওখানে লেখা আছে জেবিএল।
এটা তো এটার নাম, এটা তো আলাদা জিনিস, সেখানে কানেকশন থেকে করতে হবে, ওটা আলাদা পুরো।
না হলে আমি এখানেও শুনতে পাবো।
মনে হয় না কানেক্ট করছে।
না হলে ছেড়ে দে, আমি এমনি শুনে নেবো।
এমনি করতে হবে, এটা কানেক্টেডই না কিছুর সাথে এটা।
আচ্ছা দেখে
এই যে যে
টেস্ট টেস্ট
এই ঠিক আছে, আমি দুটো এখানে রেখেছি, দুটো আছে। মহারাজ এসে গেছে। আসুন বলো, আসুন আসুন আসুন। স্টেজে তুলে দেবে তো এখানে
ऑनलाइन जो वीडियो है ना, वो हेजी दिखा रहा है।
उसमें सेटिंग में चेंज करना है। उसमें सेटिंग रहता है पिक्सल वगैरह। जूम नहीं, यूट्यूब से देखो। जूम से क्या करोगे?
यूट्यूब से अवेलेबल है।
हाँ हाँ, यूट्यूब में CSSC ISI को ISI को
পরিকল্পনা আমাদের অনেকদিন থেকেই ছিল, কিন্তু যে কোনো কারণেই হোক হয়ে ওঠেনি। তো যখন আমরা জানতে পারলাম যে স্বামীজি কলকাতায় এসেছেন, তখন ওনাকে আমরা যোগাযোগ করি আইসাই ক্লাবের তরফ থেকে, এবং উনি ওনার ব্যস্ত শিডিউলের মধ্যে থেকে আজকে আমাদের জন্য একটু সময় বার করেছেন, যার জন্য আমরা অত্যন্ত বাধিত এবং গর্বিত। তো ওনার সাথে যোগাযোগ করার ব্যাপারে আমাদের বিশেষভাবে সহযোগিতা করেছেন সিভিপিআর ইউনিটের প্রফেসর সর্বাণী পালে, ওনাকেও বিশেষ ধন্যবাদ। আমরা এখন মঞ্চে ডেকে নেব স্বামী সর্বপ্রিয়ানন্দজিকে এবং আমাদের ইনস্টিটিউটের ডেপুটি ডিরেক্টর তথা আইসাই ক্লাবের সহ সভাপতি ডক্টর দীপ্তি প্রসাদ মুখোপাধ্যায়। সেই সঙ্গে আইসাই ক্লাবের সেক্রেটারি অমিত দাস মহাশয়কেও মঞ্চে আসার জন্য অনুরোধ করছি। স্বামীজিকে পুষ্পস্তবক দিয়ে সংবর্ধনা জ্ঞাপন করার জন্য অনুরোধ করব অমিত বাবুকে। এবং দীপ্তিদাকে অনুরোধ করবো শাল সহযোগে ওনাকে সংবর্ধনা জ্ঞাপন করতে। আর কিছুক্ষণের মধ্যেই শুরু হবে আজকের মূল অনুষ্ঠান, স্বামীজির বক্তৃতা নন ডুয়াল স্পিরিচুয়ালিটি ইনসাইটস, প্র্যাকটিস অ্যান্ড বেনিফিটস। তো এখানে যদি আপনাদের সিট পর্যাপ্ত না থেকে থাকে তাহলে আমাদের সিএসএসসি তে সেমিনার রুমে যেতে পারেন, ওখানে বড় স্ক্রিনে এই লেকচার শোনার ব্যবস্থা করা রয়েছে। এছাড়া ইউটিউবের লাইভ লিঙ্কও দেওয়া রয়েছে, তো আপনারা সেখানেও দেখতে পারেন। আর আপনাদের অনুরোধ করব আপনাদের মোবাইল ফোনগুলো দয়া করে সাইলেন্ট বা ভাইব্রেটিং মোডে রেখে। স্বামীজির পরিচয় আলাদা করে দেওয়ার কিছু নেই, তবু নবাগত অতিথিদের জন্য ওনার সংক্ষিপ্ত পরিচয় জ্ঞাপন করছি। ওনার জন্ম কলকাতায় 1971 সালে, ছোটবেলা কেটেছে ভুবনেশ্বরে। ভুবনেশ্বরে জেভিয়ার ইনস্টিটিউট অফ ম্যানেজমেন্ট থেকে উনি এমবিএ করেন। তারপর 1994 সালে রামকৃষ্ণ মিশনে যোগদান করেন। 2004 সালে স্বামী রঙ্গনাথানন্দজির কাছ থেকে তিনি সন্ন্যাস দীক্ষা গ্রহণ করেন। 2015 সালে বেদান্ত সোসাইটি অফ সাউদার্ন ক্যালিফোর্নিয়াতে অ্যাসিস্ট্যান্ট মিনিস্টার হিসেবে যোগদান করেন। 2017 সাল থেকে উনি বেদান্ত সোসাইটি অফ নিউ ইয়র্কে প্রধান হিসেবে কর্মরত রয়েছেন। তাছাড়া উনি দেওঘর উচ্চ মাধ্যমিক বিদ্যালয়ের ভাইস প্রিন্সিপাল এবং বেলুড় মঠের রামকৃষ্ণ মিশন শিক্ষণ মন্দিরের প্রিন্সিপাল হিসেবেও কাজ করেছেন। বেদান্ত দর্শনের প্রচারক হিসেবে উনি পৃথিবী বিখ্যাত। বিভিন্ন দেশে বিভিন্ন সভায় বিভিন্ন আলোচনা চক্রে ওনার প্রবচন আমরা রেগুলার দেখে থাকি ইউটিউব এবং বিভিন্ন সোশ্যাল মিডিয়াতে, সেই নিয়ে আলাদা করে বলার কিছু নেই। আমি অনুরোধ করব আমাদের ডেপুটি ডিরেক্টর তথা আইএসআই ক্লাবের সহসভাপতি মহাশয়কে কয়েক মিনিটের জন্য ছোট্ট ওয়েলকাম অ্যাড্রেস দেওয়ার জন্য, তারপর স্বামীজির মূল বক্তৃতা আরম্ভ হবে।
Good afternoon, and on behalf of the Indian Statistical Institute Club, it's my pleasure and duty to welcome you all, and of course welcome Swamiji for this talk. We are really delighted and excited, and you can see from the crowd here that we all are eagerly waiting for his talk today. Many of us may be following him on YouTube, and of course, it's a golden opportunity for us today to listen to him in person. To me, his talks are more like a record gradually grows as he speaks over time. But then often, for my understanding, it traps into a go-to loop. So you listen to statement 1, 2, 3, 4, and then again you go back to 1 to re-understand, re-evaluate, reassess what he was speaking about. So in any case, it's a great opportunity for all of us, and we are looking forward to it. I understand that in ISI we had maybe in early 2000 we had a very small research group who were working in the field of consciousness studies. The group doesn't exist anymore. In fact, one of our colleagues there went on to work with the National Brain Research Council in Gurgaon. But then while there was some maybe a very little bit history of understanding consciousness right at the early 2000s. Overall, it's a great opportunity for all of us, and we are eagerly waiting for his talk. And thank you once again for attending this talk.
আমরা এবার মঞ্চ খালি করে দেব এবং স্বামীজিকে অনুরোধ করবো বক্তৃতা শুরু করার জন্য। আপনাদেরকে অনুরোধ যে আপনারা আপনাদের যা যা প্রশ্ন তা নিজেদের কাছে রাখবেন, দরকার হলে লিখে রাখতে পারেন। ওনার বক্তৃতার পর যথেষ্ট সময় দেওয়া হবে প্রশ্নোত্তর পর্বের জন্য। ধন্যবাদ।
ॐ असतो मा सद्गमय तमसो मा ज्योतिर्गमय मृत्युर्मा अमृतं गमय ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः ॐ lead us from the unreal to the real, lead us from darkness unto light, lead us from death to immortality. Om peace, peace, peace. Namaskar and good afternoon, everybody. সবাই হয়তো দেখতে পাচ্ছেন না কিছু ওখানে আছেন, but anyway, thank you so much for gathering in such impressive numbers. আমার দেখে এত ভালো লাগছে, এত so many people are interested. This is always an encouragement to the speaker. It's the students who give the primary impetus to the teacher for teaching. I've been requested to speak Jahai Kolkata te ekটু বাংলায় বলুন. So I will speak a little bit in Bengali and the অদ্ভুত মিশ্র ভাষায় কথা বলবো. English and Bengali, Sanskrit, একটু Hindi হয়তো. But it will be almost all of it will be in English. So I know there are a lot of people who don't understand Bengali. You need not be anxious. I'm not going to say anything in Bengali which is not going to be reflected in English. So, the subject this afternoon is non-dual spirituality. You know, I was sitting there and thinking, what is it that attracts people to subjects like this? There are courses on, for example, some of the most popular courses in Ivy League colleges in the United States are on positive psychology, on happiness, on human flourishing. And I've seen lecture halls packed. At Harvard University, I saw, for example, Steven Pinker's classes. He's one of the most well-known psychologists in the world today. And a typical graduate course might have 20 students, 25 students. His classes are like this, auditorium packed with 400 students, regular class. And this course ভিতরে যে class হয় 400-500 ছাত্র-ছাত্রী বসে আছে. So what is it that attracts people? I think somewhere inside all of us, there is this somewhere an instinctive feeling that we are not just this much, that we can be much better than we are, that much greater, we can have much greater happiness, flourishing, peace, joy. We can contribute much more to society, to others than we are doing. So this kind of feeling is there inside, and that's what attracts us to such courses or such lectures. Anyway, that's just my feeling. Non-dual spirituality, that's the subject this afternoon. Spirituality, in fact, the reason I came to India this time is that there was this international seminar at the Ramakrishna Mission Institute of Culture in Golpark. The seminar theme chilo, the re-emergence of spirituality in 21st century philosophy. The idea being, in worldwide philosophy departments, now you're seeing a lot of papers being published, a number of books being written, suddenly on the theme of spirituality. Something that had become unfashionable over decades, in the last 1 century or so, suddenly it's making a comeback. So the seminar was about that. And again, today we're talking about non-dual spirituality. Broadly speaking, there are the different approaches to spirituality. One way of looking at it would be that the religions of the world, spiritual traditions of the world, are, one group is God-centered, the other group, self-centered sounds very bad, so self-inquiry based. একরকম অধ্যাত্ম হয় যেটা ঈশ্বর কেন্দ্রিক, আর আরেক রকম স্পিরিচুয়ালিটি অধ্যাত্ম হয় যেটা আত্মবিচার, নিজেকে নিয়ে বিচার করা, inquiring within. One is the search for God, Actually, more than 100 years ago, a young boy, Narendranath Datta, he went around asking people, have you seen God? That was the question. Can you experience God? That's one kind of spirituality. There is another kind of spirituality which is self-inquiry. Who am I or what am I? What's the mystery here? What exactly am I? Am I this, a biological creature? Clearly, we are biological creatures. But is that all? Am I an economic creature? Am I a Freudian, ego? What am I? Or is there a spiritual dimension to my existence? So there are two kinds of spirituality, if you see. In the first group, the God-centered spirituality, you have religions like in Hinduism, you have right here, Dakshineshwar, Kali Mandir ache, Ma Kali. Tinike, she is the one who creates, preserves, and destroys the universe. Srishti Sthiti Pralay Karen, Jagote Karta Tini. So that's a God-centered religion. So Shaktaism, Shaivism, Vaishnavism, all theistic strands within Hinduism. That's one kind of spirituality. In Islam, in Christianity, in Zoroastrianism, in Judaism, they're all God-centered. And in fact, in the West, that's the only kind of religion people were acquainted with until recently. Religion meant God. So, but in India, we know that's not the only kind of spirituality that there is. There is another kind, arekh rokom adhyatma hoy, jeta, for example, immediately mone ashbe Buddhism. Kono ishwarer kotha nei. There's no question of God there. There's no question of seeking God. But what am I? The inquiry is directed inwards. What's the nature of this phenomenon, this person, this self? Jainism, Arikta spiritual, very ancient spiritual tradition in India, which is also not God-centered. It is self-inquiry based. Within Hinduism, you have strands like Shankha philosophy. You have Patanjal Yoga, which is based on self-inquiry, investigation into oneself. You will note that Advaita Vedanta, I'm leaving it out of both categories. What Advaita Vedanta says, Sattvamasi, you are that. What you reach by inquiring into yourself, Atma Vichar kore ja pawa jabe. And what you reach by searching for God, Ishwar Anushandhan kore ja pawa jabe. Advaita Vedanta bolche duto ek, you will reach the same place. By inquiring into yourself, and those who pursue the path of God realization, they reach the same place. So this is one way of looking at spirituality. And both sides have their advantages and disadvantages. The God-centered approach has a serious disadvantage. And the disadvantage is you may not believe in God. See, the God-centered approach cannot start unless you have faith in God. In fact, in the United States, the word they have, they don't even use the word religion. They use the word faith. So for them, all spirituality is basically faith because they are acquainted with a God-centered. But if you take something like Buddhism, it's not a faith. It's not a question of believing in something, except marginally. So one approach is the God-centered approach. It depends on faith. If you run up against, I'm actually YouTube e bhalo kore keu Christopher Hitchens, Richard Dawkins, Sam Harris দিনে 2 ঘন্টা করে শুনে সব ধর্ম কর্ম বিশ্বাস সব সর্বনাশ হয়ে যাবে. So it is peculiarly vulnerable to skepticism. যদি কেউ বলে বিশ্বাস করি না আমি, persuade me যে ভগবান আছেন বলে, very difficult. So that's one problem of the God-centered approach, because especially in this day and age, somebody said, we have the largest number ever in history. Never in history have there been so many people at the same time on this planet who do not believe in God. The number of atheists, agnostics is the largest ever in history in our time. So the God-centered approach has this vulnerability. This vulnerability is not there in the self-inquiry approach. Ami achi, when the object of inquiry is I, me, myself, there is no doubt about it. Ami achi, that I exist. There is no doubt about it. In fact, when the French philosopher, mathematician Descartes, he started his project of universal global skepticism. কোন জিনিস আছে যেটাকে আমি নিঃসন্দিগ্ধভাবে জানতে পারি? What is that knowledge which can never be doubted? Nobody can ever doubt it. And you know how he found that bit of indubitable knowledge in one's own existence. His famous cogito ergo sum, that I think therefore I exist. যে সন্দেহ করতে গেলেও তো ভাবতে, সন্দেহ তো একটা ভাবা, it's a বৃত্তি, মনের বৃত্তি একটা. So if I'm doubting, the doubter has to exist. The entity which is doubting has to exist. Not just Descartes. তার থেকে 800 বছর আগে, 700 বছর আগে আদি শঙ্করাচার্য লিখছেন, ইয়েব তস্য নিরাকর্তা তস্যৈব আত্মা সা, যে এই আত্মা আছে বলে যে সন্দেহ করে, তারই আত্মা সেটা। সন্দেহ যে করছে, that itself proves the existence of the self. But the nature of the self, of course, আত্মাটা কেমন সেটা নিয়ে সন্দেহ হতে পারে। So the self-inquiry based approach does not suffer from that particular vulnerability. But the problem with the self-inquiry based approach is, yes, I exist, so what? সবাই বলতে পারে, হ্যাঁ আমি আছি। You don't require any philosophy to prove that or psychology to prove that. I exist, nobody doubts it, but that's the problem. আমার অস্তিত্বটাই তো সমস্যা। I have physical problems, mental problems, relationship problems, financial problems, political and social problems. হাজার সমস্যায় জর্জরিত এই self, right? Whereas the opposite, the God-centered approach, God has no problems. Omniscient, omnipotent, omnipresent, সর্বব্যাপী তিনি, সর্বজ্ঞ, সর্বশক্তিমান. If God exists, যদি থাকেন তিনি. The problem is, at all, does God exist or not? Where am I going with this? Advaita Vedanta, the kind of spirituality we'll talk about, if you see the architectonic, the logic of what I'm doing, if you bring these two together, the self-inquiry approach and the God-seeking approach, what Advaita Vedanta accomplishes, it's an amazing picture if you see philosophically. It takes the absolute certainty of the self-inquiry approach and the infinitude of God and puts them together. I'll put it in Bengali. এই অদ্বৈত বেদান্ত কি করে, যে আমি আছি, যে কোনো সন্দেহ নেই, আমি আছি, এই যে নিঃসন্দিগ্ধ অসন্দিগ্ধ যে একটি অনুভূতি, আমি আছি, আহম আস্মি, এটাকে না, আর ভগবান ঈশ্বর যে অনন্ত লিমিটলেসনেস, সেটাকে এটার সঙ্গে এক করে দেয়। So my own indubitable infinite existence, infinite means beyond any limits, so that beyond any trouble, beyond any problem at all. So this is what it does, Advaita Vedanta. If it's not clear, don't worry, we'll go into it again. This is just a first pass at non-dual spirituality. Another way. So, Durokam spirituality, self-inquiry based or God-based, if you look at them closely, they are a little different. একটা হচ্ছে the God-based approach. If you see মন্দির, মসজিদ, চার্চ, সেখানে কি হচ্ছে? প্রার্থনা হয়, গান, প্রার্থনা, devotion, bhakti. So that is what you see in a God-centered approach. Faith, worship, love, surrender. Whereas in the self-inquiry approach, আপনি যদি একটা বৌদ্ধ মেডিটেশন হলে যান, এখন খুব পপুলার, বিপাশনা যে রিট্রিটে যায়, তো সেখানে কি হচ্ছে? সেখানে কোনো ঈশ্বরের আরাধনা হচ্ছে না। What's going on there? Meditation. Looking inwards, into an inquiry inwards through philosophy and meditation. So the emphasis is different. The God-centered approach is bhakti pradhan okhane. Our self-inquiry approach is ekhane darshan o dhyan pradhan ekhane. আরেকটা বলি, মানুষের মধ্যেও কিন্তু তফাৎ আছে। So it depends on our mental constitution. When we are spiritual, if you look into yourself and you look at other people who are spiritual around, who have got some kind of interest in spirituality, you will find in your own families, friends, or around in your community, you will find these two approaches. Some people are seeking God, like Narendranath was doing when he was seeking God. Ishwar ki achen. And then there are other people who may say, yeah, God is fine, that's all right, but I'm really interested in who am I or what am I? At a self-inquiry. মানুষের মধ্যে দুরকম পাওয়া যায়, দুরকম approach পাওয়া যায়। And Advaita Vedanta says both will ultimately reach the same realization. একই অনুভূতি হবে তাদের। All right. This is the first approach. Let's take another pass at the same problem. Spirit, what is spirituality? Non-dual spirituality. Keep looking at that. The second approach is like this. The methods of spirituality. What is the method for becoming spiritual? What do we practice? One approach is bhakti, devotion, vishwas, bhakti, anurag, prayer, surrender, worship. So here the idea is that the problem is that God exists, but you don't have faith in God. So solution will be faith in God. Samasya hocche spiritual life it is constructed in this way that ঈশ্বর আছেন কিন্তু আমাদের বিশ্বাস নেই, অতএব সমাধান হচ্ছে ঈশ্বরে বিশ্বাস করা। এটা একরকম spirituality. By the way, I'm not criticizing any of these paths. They're all valid. In fact, that was the beauty of Sri Ramakrishna. Jatamat, Tatapad, all these paths are valid, and they all work. They are pragmatically valid. That means they will give results. এটা একরকমের। এটার সমস্যা কি? এটার সমস্যা হচ্ছে অবিশ্বাস। কেউ যদি বিশ্বাস না করে তাহলে ভক্তির পথ তার জন্য আরম্ভই হবে না। প্রথম থেকেই যদি কেউ সন্দেহ করতে আরম্ভ করে যে ঈশ্বর আছেন কিনা, স্কেপটিক, মডার্ন স্কেপটিক কেউ। আজকাল তো বিখ্যাত সব আছেন আমাদের কি বলে রিচার্ড ডকিন্স, স্যাম হ্যারিস, এরা সবাই আছে। আচ্ছা, দ্বিতীয়, there's another kind of approach which says বিশ্বাস নয়, not faith in God, not belief in God, but actual experience of God, very empirical. Vivekananda said, if God exists, I should be able to see God. If I have an immortal soul, I should be able to feel it. Describe. What did Vivekananda ask when he went around in Calcutta, when he went to Sri Ramakrishna and Dakshineshwar? Ishwar achen kina, he did not ask, does God exist? He doesn't ask that. He says, can you experience God? Can you see God? Have you seen God? It's a call for experience. This is another kind of spirituality. এখানে বিশ্বাসের কথা বলা হচ্ছে না, except preliminary. Ultimately, it must culminate in experience. I was just speaking to Professor Arindam Chakravarti, one of India's greatest philosophers, who is now back in India. He was in Hawaii University for decades. Just day before yesterday, he has come, he has joined Ashoka University. I met him in the Institute of Culture in Gold Park. So he made a very interesting comment. He said, spirituality in India was immensely empirical. আমরা সাধারণত কি ভাবি যে সায়েন্স ইজ এম্পিরিক্যাল, এভিডেন্স বেসড, হাইপোথেসিস টেস্টিং বেসড, whereas religion বিশ্বাসের ব্যাপার একটা. But he's saying just the opposite. He said, look at all these range of mystics in India. প্রাচীন যুগ থেকে আজকে ঠাকুর শ্রীরামকৃষ্ণ দেবদেব, if you come, all of them are speaking about experience, অনুভব. They are outright empiricists, উনি বলছেন একটু strong language. Whereas he's saying science কিসের উপর দাঁড়িয়ে থাকে? It depends on testimony. Most of your scientists, you will say, no, that's not true. It depends on experimentation and observation. But interestingly, there's a book, Why Should We Trust Science? And I was there at the book launch, Harvard University, যিনি geologist, উনি বইটা লিখেছেন, তো ওনার বইটা launch করলেন, Why Should We Trust Science? And I was actually running from a class on Madhyamaka Buddhism. Professor কে বললাম যে স্যার এরকম একটা আছে, there is this talk, I'm going to go and listen to this talk. Why should we trust science? Now this professor was teaching Nagarjuna's philosophy. So if you know Nagarjuna's philosophy, it's anti-foundationalist. উনি আমাকে বলছেন, why should we trust science? Well, it better not be because we tell you to trust science. And তাই হলো, when I went to the talk, the lady, the professor who was giving this talk about the book, she said, look, people have this idea that science is based on evidence and testing and so forth and experimentation. Well, I'm a scientist. I've never done an experiment in my life. Really, what science functions on, of course, at the ground there is experimentation, mostly hypothesis testing, but it's a peer-reviewed system. You have your findings and you publish it, and basically it's reviewed by a group of your peers, experts in the subject, and they say, okay, this is okay for publication. And that's how it becomes part of the body of scientific knowledge in a field. But what does it mean? It's testimony. যেটা সংস্কৃতে বলে আপ্তবাক্য, reliable testimony. Anyway, so Professor Chakravarti, he turned it around, the whole thing on its head. And সাধারণত ভাবে science is evidence-based and religion is faith-based. He is saying just the opposite. Religion, অন্তত spirituality এখানে, এই দেশে, It is empirical. They are outright empiricists. And science actually is testimony based. So the second kind of spirituality is yoga, is experience based. First kind, Vishwas. Second kind, experience based. Demon, for example, Patanjal Yoga. What do they say? They don't say that you have to believe in it. Rather, you sit in this way, asana, you breathe in this way, you withdraw your mind and senses in this way, and you focus inwards in this particular way, and then you will have the promises, you will have certain mystical experiences which will prove to you the claims of religion. Tumi Atma, eta pramanita hobe, but with your own inner mystical experience. This is the claim. So it's a kind of empiricism that you experience it for yourself. So this, I hope you see the difference between the first kind of spirituality and second kind. Vishwasher upor bhakti je approach, and eta yoger dhyan dharana samadhi mystical experience and approach. Two different approaches. But what's the problem with this approach? এটা তো একটু সমস্যা হতে পারে যে আমি সাধনা করে আমি দর্শন পেলাম ঈশ্বরের, empirical claim. The problem is it's not a public experience. It's a very private experience. এই যে আমরা এখানে আছি, we all agree. আমরা হলে আছি, এতজন লোক আছে, একটা লেকচার চলছে, we all agree. এখন যদি কেউ বলে আমার মা কালীর দর্শন হচ্ছে, what will our reaction be? গেছে, মাথাটা গেছে. Because it's not a shared experience. Even when you read the Kathamrita, Sri Ramakrishna Ma Kali darshan hocche. So there you see he is having this amazing experience, but if you read carefully, nobody else around him, nobody else is having it. They feel something amazing is going on, ekta mone uddipon hocche, but they are not experiencing actually Ma Kali darshan to hocche na tader. So the problem with this kind of approach, mystical experience, sadhana kore darshan korlam. Remember, I am not criticizing the approach. I think they are all valid. Mystical experience, fine. I have no doubt about it. So the problem is this: it can be doubted. Loke bolbe matha kharap. Thakur kyo to most people used to say the pagla babun Dakshineshware and Ma Kali shange kotha koy. So mystics throughout the ages in every religion, they have been subject to that kind of criticism. Crazy. Or today they might not say that you're crazy. They might say, a neuroscientist will say, we don't doubt it that you feel one with the universe or you are seeing God or whatever, seeing some divine light. We don't doubt it. But what we are saying is, you think you are saying it because there's a stroke in this hemisphere of the brain, এখানে একটা blood clot হয়েছে, তাই জন্য ওই চাপের জন্য আপনার মনে হচ্ছে এরকম, আপনার অনুভূতি হচ্ছে. You feel that, we are not doubting it, but that does not mean it's valid. It's entirely subjective, it's pathological. In fact, one of the most popular TED talks recently, একজন মহিলা, উনি neuroscientist, ওনার stroke হয়, and she had this feeling of oneness with the universe because of the stroke, and sense of personal boundary চলে গেছে কিছুক্ষণের জন্য. So she gave a talk, and she's written a book about it also. You can see it online. So this is the problem with mystical experiences. It can be doubted, mainly because it's not a public available experience. Now I am coming to non-dual spirituality. Ask a topic, third kind of spiritual approach. First kind, bhakti, vishwas, belief, faith. Second kind, experience. But what kind of experience? Extraordinary experience, mystical experience. Now I am coming to the third kind of spirituality, which is the one I am trying to push. Non-dual spirituality, what is so called the path of knowledge, Gyan Jog jetake bole. Here, we are not called upon to believe anything at all. Kono bishwasher byapar nei ekhane. In fact, bishwas korle it will be like class e gelen, somebody is teaching you statistics or physics or something, and the teacher looks at you and says, so is this all right, do you get it? And if you say, apnar response jodi hoy, I don't get it, but you are great, so I believe you. Tahole to holo na, master moshe chote jabe. So you have to understand, in the path of knowledge, we have to understand. No question of believing in something. Not only that, experience, anubhuti. We are not called upon to have extraordinary experiences. Just this experience of drashta drishya. Apni achen and apnar anubhav hocche. Subject and object. Kar nei, shobai kar ache. That's enough to begin the path of knowledge. Just this experience of waking, dreaming, deep sleep. জেগে আছি, ঘুমিয়ে পড়ে স্বপ্ন হয়, আর গভীর নিদ্রা হয়, সুষুপ্তি, আবার জেগে উঠি. Just this experience is enough to start the path of knowledge. And who doesn't have it? Everybody has it. So what the path of knowledge does is, it's not believing in something. It's also not trying to have some kind of special experience. নিউ ইয়র্কে এখন স্পেশাল এক্সপিরিয়েন্স যদি কারো, সবাইকারই স্পেশাল এক্সপিরিয়েন্স হচ্ছে, ওরা ম্যারিজুয়ানা লিগালাইজ করে দিয়েছে। সো সন্ধ্যেবেলা পট অর উইড, তো সন্ধ্যেবেলা বাজে বেরোলে সব জায়গায় সবাইকার স্পেশাল এক্সপিরিয়েন্স হচ্ছে। তখন বিপদ আছে, একজন ভিজিটর তাকে নিয়ে যাচ্ছে হট চকলেট খাওয়াতে, ভাগ্যিস আমি দেখেছি হট চকলেট দেখা আছে ইনফিউজড হট চকলেট, তারপরে বললাম ইনফিউজড, ও ওর মধ্যে ম্যারিজুয়ানা ঢোকানো আছে, ভাগ্যিস তাকে খাওয়াইনি ইনফিউজড হট চকলেট। তো সবাইকারই স্পেশাল এক্সপিরিয়েন্স হচ্ছে, দ্যাট ডাজ নট মিন ইটস এনিথিং স্পিরিচুয়াল, তো উইড হতে পারে। But in the path of knowledge, what is done is, it takes our quotidian experience, এই আমাদের সাধারণ experience, this is enough, and uses reason to step by step point at what it claims, that we are not the body, we are not the mind, আমরা চৈতন্য, existence, consciousness, bliss, এটা demonstrate করে experientially. You will see as a fact, you cannot deny it. So, how am I doing for time? Time কে দেখছিলেন? 25 minutes আছে, very good. All right. I haven't started the talk yet. Now I'm going to start. It's a purotai background, but I can complete in 25 minutes. We'll try to see for ourselves what this non-dual spirituality does. It's a key method. কারণ ভক্তির মেথড আমরা জানি, পুজো পাঠ হয়, প্রার্থনা হয়, নাম সংকীর্তন হয়, এটা ভক্তির মেথড। যোগের মেথডও আমরা জানি, ধ্যান করে, চোখ বন্ধ করে, ইনভার্টাইজ করে, in various meditation techniques, that also we know. But জ্ঞানের মেথডটা কি? What is the method? What is done here? So what is done here is, বলে শ্রবণ মনন নিধিধ্যাসন. You listen to these teachings, you think about it. একদম ক্লাসরুমে আপনারা যেটা করেন, exactly same procedure, nothing different. At a mathematics ki statistics কিছু proof লেখা হচ্ছে. What do? First you go and listen to the professor, you read the handouts, then you think about it. যদি বোঝা না গেল, মাস্টার মশাই কি বলবেন? Professor will tell you that think deeply, sit quietly and think deeply about it, you'll get it. ঠিক তেমনি, just like that, Shravana, Manana, Nididhyasana. Shravana is, you systematically study the text. Key text I'm going to systematically study the text. And then you think about it. And then finally meditate on the results of your thinking. 3 steps. First step will give you the information. What the teaching is. That will give you the teaching. The text will give you the teaching. Second, once you know the teaching, you can say, I know what the text says, but I have many questions. Second step will take care of all the questions. At the end of the second step, when you have completed mananam, cogitation, reflection, argumentation, you will be able to say, I not only know the text, but now I get it. আমার কোনো সন্দেহ নেই, I get it. আমি পড়িয়ে দিতে পারবো। But then what remains? একটা প্রশ্ন থেকে যায় যে আমি তো শুনলাম, বুঝলাম, কিন্তু আমি এখনো I don't feel that spiritual transformation. I'm still the same guy. I cannot say with Shankaracharya, Chidananda Rupa Shivoham, I'm pure consciousness and bliss. এই অনুভব আমার হচ্ছে না। So for that, what we have studied, what we have inquired into, and we have got clarity now, Shravan Manan Kore, stay with that clarity with meditative exercises, and the promise is this realization that I'm not the body, not the mind, I'm pure consciousness. This will become evident. Advaita Vedanta's claim is, this is already evident, we just don't see it. And a chota kotha boli. One of my favorite Western philosophers is Wittgenstein. তার এক একটা করে অদ্ভুত observation আছে. See, one argument against religion is this. Richard Dawkins' argument. If religion were true, one argument is that if that God exists, God has made this universe, এটা যদি সত্যই হতো, then the universe would look very different. A universe hoto na. This universe, which is a product of evolution and cosmological forces, it looks like this. But God made that universe would look different. এবার এই শুনুন উইটগেনস্টাইনের ঘটনাটা। একবার উইটগেনস্টাইন উনি কেমব্রিজে পড়াচ্ছেন, ক্লাস থেকে বেরিয়েছেন, Okay, let me tell it in English. Stepped out of the class, Wittgenstein with a student of his, and he looked up at the sun which was setting, and he said, I wonder why people thought that the sun goes around the earth instead of the earth rotating. সূর্য উঠছে অস্ত হচ্ছে এরকম লোকে কেন ভাবতো? So ওনার সঙ্গে যে স্টুডেন্ট ছিল, she said, because it looks that way, professor. দেখলে তো এরকম মনে হয় সূর্য উদয় হচ্ছে অস্ত হচ্ছে দেখলে মনে হয়. Then he said, suppose it were not. সূর্য উদয় হচ্ছে অস্ত হচ্ছে তা নয়. If the opposite were true, that earth is rotating, which is true. If that were the case, what would it look like? সূর্য উদয় হচ্ছে অস্ত হচ্ছে যদি হতো তাহলে এরকম দেখাতো, আচ্ছা এখান থেকে এখানে যাচ্ছে। সেটা না হয়ে যদি পৃথিবী ঘুরছে তাহলে কেমন দেখাতো? এইরকমই দেখাতো। This is exactly what it would look like. So the beauty of Advaita Vedanta is once you get it, you realize, yes, eito, this is what it is. All right, let's start now. I'll take up a text, quickly guide us to that text, and then leave it open to questions. So the Advaita Vedanta is based on Upanishads. অনেকগুলো উপনিষদ আছে, একটা উপনিষদ তৈত্তিরীয় উপনিষদ থেকে আমি একটা procedure নিচ্ছি. That procedure, these are called prakriyas, procedures. So we will apply that and find out what are we trying to do. We listen carefully, try to understand and notice it. Ask yourself 3 questions. Did I hear what he said? কি বললেন উনি? Number 1 question. Second, do I get it? বুঝতে পারছি কিনা কি বলেছেন? Third, is it real? Is it real? যেমন আমি যদি বলি আপনি ওখানে চেয়ারে বসে আছেন, কি বললেন? বললেন যে আমি চেয়ারে বসে আছি। ঠিক আছে, বুঝেছি কিনা? হ্যাঁ বুঝেছি। Is it real? Let me check. হ্যাঁ চেয়ারে বসে আছি, it's real. Like that. So what did he say? Do I get it? And is it real? 3 questions. You are keep asking yourself. So the goal in Vedanta is to see that we are pure consciousness, Janaka Atma Brahma Javala. Now let's see. The problem is we identify ourselves with the body. Immediately our reaction is, we Atma Brahma, ami kichu noy, ami to ei sadharon manush ekta. Then the Upanishad says, good, like a good teacher, pedagogically, it starts where the student is. ঠিক আছে, আপনি নিজেকে কি মনে করেন? What do you think you are? I am this body. ঠিক আছে, let's start with the body. এই শরীরটা কি আপনি? Yes, why not? Then a series of arguments will be given to demonstrate that we are not the body. So for example, these arguments are not mathematical proofs. They are more like legal arguments. Even lawyers are there to persuade you. যেমন একটা argument হচ্ছে নির্বিকার সবিকার. Savikar means with change. This body is born and it's a baby and it becomes a child and a teenager and middle age, old age. এইরকম শরীরটা যাচ্ছে. Tremendous difference, tremendous change. And we experience it all. I am the same one who was that baby. I am the same one who was the child and the teenager, and I'm the same one who is in this middle-aged body, and there's the same one in the elderly body. The body has changed tremendously, but I identify as the same person. Same and changing. It cannot be the same thing. একটা লোক ছুটে বেড়াচ্ছে, তাকে যদি আপনি ধরেন, হয় আপনাকে টেনে নিয়ে চলে যাবে, নাহলে ও থেমে যাবে। That which is continuously changing and that which is not changing, they cannot be identical. Psychologically, I feel a unity. I am that same person. Whereas the body has changed dramatically, and doctors will tell you it's a continuous flow of matter through this body. It's changing all the time. Changing, unchanging cannot be the same thing, therefore I am not the body. Arekta, one more argument. Drigdrishya. That which we experience, the object is different from the subject. In fact, the only thing that the eyes can see, visible things, are those which are different from the eyes, with a little gap from the eyes. You cannot see the eyes themselves unless you reflect it in a mirror or take a selfie or something. But directly, the way my eyes are seeing you, my eyes cannot see themselves in that way. Jeta drishya, seta drashtar theke alada hoy. Now look at the body. It's a drishya. It's an object to all my senses. I can see it. I can touch it. I can smell it, taste it. Even if I can hear it. All my senses objectify the body. I am the subject. I mean, drashta and drishya. How can I be the body? It must be different. একজন ডাক্তার আমাকে একবার ইমেল করলেন, হঠাৎ he got an epiphany that এতদিন ধরে all these years I've been looking at scans of the human body, এখন আমার মনে হলো 30 years later এটার মধ্যে, এটা একটা মেশিন, এটার মধ্যে আমি কোথায়? Where am I in this machine? It's a biological machine. এটা দৃশ্য, আমি দ্রষ্টা, therefore I cannot be the body. Third, আরেকটা argument, it's a subtle argument, এটা জড়, আমি চেতন, this is insentient, not conscious, I am conscious of it. The body is not conscious of me, I am conscious of the body. The body is not conscious of itself or anything else, I am conscious of the body. It's a subtle argument. If you look at your own experience, simple, but it's subtle. That it's phenomenological if you look at yourself, that I feel aware of the body. Is there anything in the body which suggests that the body is aware of me? Not at all. It's something that I am aware of. I am conscious of the body is not conscious of me. I and the body cannot be the same thing literally. Conscious and not conscious. It is enough. Many arguments are there. These three are enough to go on with. See what is being done here. Because the body is changing and I feel I am the same, because the body is an object and I am the subject, because the body is non-conscious and I am conscious of the body, therefore I am not the body, literally. In Sanskrit bolte gele savikartva drishyatva jadatva naham deha, যেহেতু শরীরটা বিকারী, শরীরটা দৃশ্য, শরীরটা জড়, therefore I am not the body. আচ্ছা তাই নাকি? তাহলে আমি তো আছি, এখানে কোথাও আছি। আরো ভেতরে দেখো, উপনিষদ তখন বলবে অন্য অন্তরাত্মা প্রাণময়ঃ। এই যে তাহলে আমি কে? Am I the life processes itself? প্রাণ বলে, এটা উপনিষদ যেভাবে গাইড করছে আমাদের। Look inside the body. Inside means not physically inside the body. Physically inside the body, if you look, what will you find? More body. আরো যেগুলো the gooey, sticky, slimy portions, so they are all inside the body. No, inside means in your experience of yourself. আমি আছি, আর একটু সূক্ষ্ম কি আমার my experience of myself. উপনিষদ বলছে look at the breath, প্রাণ, life. So am I life? সেখানেও সে একই কথা, in breath, out breath. প্রাণ কখনো এনার্জেটিক, কখনো দুর্বল, কখনো খিদে পাচ্ছে, কখনো পেট ভরে গেছে, কখনো শরীর খারাপ লাগছে, কখনো খুব ভালো লাগছে, এগুলো সব প্রাণ। Am I that prana? But it's the same arguments apply. Prana is changing, and I identify as the same one who was sick and the same one who's now healthy, same one who was hungry and the same one who is satiated. এটা আমি তো পরিষ্কার বুঝতে পারছি। অতএব I am unchanging and the prana is changing. I am the drashta experiencer, the prana is drishya. Drishya মানে এই vipassana meditation যেটা করায়, যে শ্বাস প্রশ্বাস, you're breathing in and you observe it, you're breathing out, you observe it. But if you observe it, you are the observer of the prana, you are not the prana. আরেকটা হচ্ছে চেতন জড়। I am aware of the breath, the breath is not aware of me. আমি চেতন, এই breathing, breath, even prana is jara, therefore I am not the prana. Then what am I? এইভাবে যাচ্ছে, আরো গভীরে, আরো ভেতরে যাচ্ছে। উপনিষদ is saying, আচ্ছা তুমি তাহলে প্রাণ নও, শরীর নও, what else is there? And look inside it, thoughts, feelings, memories, the personality. I say yes, of course, I am the mind. তাই তো আমি কখনো নিজেকে রক্ত মাংস হাড় মাংসের শরীর বলি না। আমি I say I am an embodied person. আমি একটা person, একটা mind, an embodied mind, I am a person. তাহলে মন কি তুমি? উপনিষদ বলছে অন্য অন্তরাত্মা মনোময়, মনটাই তাহলে আত্মা। Again examine it, same set of criteria, changing and unchanging. Does the mind change? Of course it changes so much, changes continuously. সারাদিন ধরে মন পাল্টে যাচ্ছে, কখনো আনন্দ, কখনো দুঃখ, কখনো অ্যাংজাইটি, কখনো শান্তি, কখনো জেগে আছে, কখনো ঘুমিয়ে পড়েছে, কখনো ডে ড্রিমিং. Sometimes we understand, sometimes we do not understand. All these are all activities of the mind. It changes, but I am the same person. যে ঘুমিয়েছিল সেই জেগেছে, যে বুঝতে পারছিল না ক্লাসে তার পরবর্তীকালে সেই বুঝতে পারছে। মন পাল্টে গেছে, আন্ডারস্ট্যান্ডিং পাল্টে গেছে, memory পাল্টে গেছে, but I am the same one. Therefore I cannot be the mind. And even further, মনটাও দৃশ্য. When we introspect, we are aware of the contents of our mind. সুখ, দুঃখ, memory, we are aware of it. This is called introspection. But what Vedanta takes from it is, if you are aware of the contents of the mind, then you are not the contents of the mind. You are the one who is aware of the contents of the mind. বিখ্যাত philosopher David Hume তিনি বলছেন যে self, আমি, when I examine the contents of my mind, judgments, thoughts, emotions, I do not find anything corresponding to the self. এই আমি বলে কোথায় আছে? তো মনের মধ্যে কোনো আমি বলে কিছুই নেই, but that does not mean আমি নেই. আমি is the one who is experiencing all of this. So I am not the mind. Same arguments. Even conscious, not conscious. I'm saying something quite dramatic, because normally in the philosophy of mind, and modern consciousness studies also, mind and consciousness are taken to be more or less belonging to the same group. But Bharatiya Darshan, in Indian philosophy, not just Vedanta, Shankar, Vedanta, Buddhism, Jainism, there's a clear difference between mind and consciousness. What is the difference? What is the analytic difference? Whatever phenomenologically in your experience you can classify as this, idam, this, that's an object. That's not consciousness. That's not the real self. If I say this thought, this feeling, this perception, বলতেই পারি আমরা, তাহলে মন becomes this object, দৃশ্য, আমি তার দ্রষ্টা হয়ে যাচ্ছি. So consciousness or self becomes the experiencer, and the mind itself becomes the object of experience. অতএব মন দৃশ্য, আর মন চেতন নয়, মন জড়. This is again something dramatic, which not at all understood in modern consciousness studies. In fact, there is a book, Waking, Dreaming, Being. Evan Thompson is a professor of philosophy in the University of British Columbia. So he has said at the very beginning, consciousness studies is not a new subject. In fact, it started 5,000 years ago in the Indo-Gangetic plains in the texts called the Upanishads. Consciousness studies is so ancient. So consciousness is not even, mind is also not conscious. Mind is not consciousness. Consciousness ache, but it's distinct from mind. আমি মনও নই. আর কি ওখানে আরেকটা স্টেপ দিচ্ছে, বিজ্ঞানময়, বুদ্ধি. But you can apply the same arguments. Our understanding, does it change? Of course, that's how we learn. Is it an object? Can we be aware of our own understanding? Yes. আমি বুঝতে পারছি না. Many of you have this feeling in the classroom. Some of you may have it right now. বুঝতে পারছি না কি বলছে. That's the buddhi. Buddhi বলছে বুঝতে পারছি. And a little while later you say, I get it. বুঝেছি. Eureka. Yes. So that's the buddhi. And I'm aware of it. So buddhi is also an object. The বিজ্ঞানময় যেটাকে বলে সেটাও আমি নয়. I am not even the বিজ্ঞানময়. তারপরে একটা আসছে blankness. আমি যদি quieten down the body mind সব শান্ত করে দেন, you will find blank. কিছুই নেই. Then what is the self? ওই কিছুই নেই, সেটা কি self? No. Deep, like a deep blankness, যার একদম কিচ্ছু, গভীর অন্ধকার. Now, what is the self? যেমন 5টা লেয়ার এক্সামিন করা হলো. বডি, অন্নময় বলে এটাকে. প্রাণ, প্রাণময় বলে. মাইন্ড, মনোময় বলে. ইন্টেলেক্ট, বিজ্ঞানময় বলে. তারপরে একটা ব্ল্যাঙ্কনেস আসবে, লাইক ডিপ স্লিপ, আনন্দময় বলে. And none of them are the self. None of them are the self. I mean, after all, what is the project? আমি খুঁজছি, who am I? কোনোটাই সেলফ নয়. তাহলে সেলফ বলে কিছু নেই নাকি? কিন্তু আমি তো আছি, there's no doubt about it. We started with this conclusion that the one thing we cannot doubt is our own existence. So I do exist. I don't see the problem. I do exist, কিন্তু আমি খুঁজে পাচ্ছি না নিজেকে. Everything that I am putting forward as a candidate for the self, এই শরীরটাই আমি বোধহয়, এই মনটাই আমি, none of them is the self. None of them is really I, because of these reasons. তাহলে আমি কে? এইখানে there's one text of late Vedanta Panchadashi, Vidyarthana Swami লিখেছিলেন. So here he brings in the story of the 10th man. A very interesting story. So 10 friends, they cross a river, and then one of them thinks that, did everybody cross or did somebody drown? ডুবে গেল কিনা, 10 জনের মধ্যে সবাই পার হয়েছে, ডুবে গেল কিনা. Before I go ahead with the story, I told this many times, but I'll tell you a little different variation here because the Indian Statistical Institute. আমার মনে আছে, I remember I studied statistics in class 11, And the first thing we studied, our textbook chilo, second, of course, first time I learned about PC Malanovis and ISI also and all of that. But what I learned, there was a little story there. This gentleman, he went a traveler, he went on a merchant, he went on a journey with his family. আর ওনার পরিবারে উনি ছিলেন, ওনার স্ত্রী ছিলেন, ওনার বাচ্চারা ছিল, আর বাচ্চাগুলো বিভিন্ন সাইজের, একটু বড়, একটু মধ্যম, আর একটু ছোট, সবচেয়ে ছোট। তো ওরা নদী পার করলো। নদী পার করার আগে উনি তো স্ট্যাটিস্টিশিয়ান ছিলেন, উনি করলেন কি, যাতে কেউ ডুবে না যায়, উনি সবাইকার হাইট নিয়ে অ্যাভারেজ করে দিলেন। He took an average of the heights of all his family, and then they crossed the river. It's a bit gruesome, the story. They crossed the river, and then they couldn't find the smallest child. কি হলো, ছোট বাচ্চাটাকে পাওয়া যাচ্ছে না। তুমি বলে আমার কি ক্যালকুলেশনে ভুল হলো? তারপর আবার সবাইকার হাইট নিলেন, আমার হাইট, I took the heights of everybody, calculated, average তো তাই আছে, and the average is higher than the depth of the river. তারপর উনি বললেন এই ছড়াটা, the whole point of the story is the ছড়া। আরবা জিও কা কেউ, কুনবা ডুবা কেউ। আরবা মানে অ্যারাবিক, যেটা হচ্ছে আমাদের মানে ম্যাথমেটিক্স, ক্যালকুলেশন ইজ স্টিল দ্য সেম। তাহলে আমাদের কুনবা মানে রিলেটিভ, আবার আমার ফ্যামিলি ডুবলো কেন? Anyway, so these friends, they crossed the river and they thought সবাই ক্রস করেছে না কেউ ডুবে গেছে। And they started counting 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9. Oh my god, where is the 10th one? দশম থেকে গেল কোথায়? 9 জন পাচ্ছি। আবার একজন, ওই তুই ভালো করে গুনতে পারছিস না, let me count. সেও কাউন্ট করলো 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9। এই রে, যে 10 নাম্বার 10 শুধু ডুবে গেল। বসে কান্নাকাটি, এখন মাথায় হাত। পাশ দিয়ে একজন যাচ্ছেন, জিজ্ঞেস করলো কি হলো, তোমরা কাঁদছো কেন? Why are you crying? Oh, we crossed the river and there were 10 of us. আমাদের বন্ধু ডুবে গেছে। কি করে জানলে? How did you know? এখন there are only 9 of us. 10th কে খুঁজে পাওয়া যাচ্ছে না। So that man must have counted. গুনে দেখেছেন 10 জন আছে, বুঝে গেছে কি হয়েছে। বলে ঠিক আছে, এবার কেঁদো না, don't cry, the 10th man is there. যখন উপনিষদ গুরু এসে বলে দেন তোমরা কেঁদো না, ঈশ্বর, ভগবান, আত্মা, ব্রহ্ম আছে, it's like that. The 10th man is there. কোথায় কোথায়, where is it? I'll show you. Count. We have counted. গুনেছিলাম তো। We count again. Humor me. 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9. বলেছিলাম 9. So he looked up. He took the hand around and turned it around and said, Dashamastvamasi. 10. 10. Oh, let me see. 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9. 10. 10. অন্যরাও বলছে, আমি দেখি, আমি করে দেখি, let me try. And all of them tried and they said they have found the 10th person. They were very happy. Now this is the story. We will apply it now. হাসছি, আমরা কিন্তু একই কাণ্ড করছি। We'll see how. ওইটা বলে আমি শেষ করছি. That will be the whole thing. So the 10th man story, finding out oneself. We are basically doing the same thing. The Vidyarthi Swami has used this in his book. উনি বলছেন স্পিরিচুয়াল প্রসেসের বেদান্ততে there are these 7 stages. প্রথমে হচ্ছে অজ্ঞান আবরণ বিক্ষেপ, এরা হয় যে অজ্ঞান হচ্ছে I don't know about the existence of the 10th person. আবরণ মানে তার এক্সিস্টেন্সটা ঢেকে গেছে, the 10th person আছে কিনা আমি বুঝতে পারছি না। ঢেকে যাওয়ার পরে নেক্সট স্টেজ বিক্ষেপ মানে an error creeps in. Once I don't know, an error creeps in. Error is ডুবে গেছে, is drowned, is dead, which is not true. Similarly, আমি যে আত্মা and pure consciousness, that I don't know. আমি শুনছি হয়তো, but I don't know it. It's not real for me. It's covered as it were. And then an error creeps in. What's the error? I am the body. এটাই আমি। Then what happens? Sorrow. দুঃখ, সে কান্নাকাটি আরম্ভ হয়ে গেল, the people are crying, the 10th man is dead. Then the next stage, the 4th stage is paroksha jnana. When the teacher comes and tells you, কেউ lecture দিল, কেউ বইতে পড়িয়ে দিল, তুমি কিন্তু শরীর নও, 10th man is there, বিশ্বাস করো 10th man is there. তুমি শরীর নও, তুমি আত্মা, তুমি চৈতন্য, consciousness, a witness consciousness. How? Wait, I'll show you. Then the next step, 5th stage is aparoksha jnana, direct realization. ও যখন ত্বম দশামস্ত্বমসি 10, they বুঝিয়ে দিল, that moment of realization. Oh, I am the 10th. 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10. A momentum. This is called aparoksha jnana. This is what we will try to do here. That is a kotojonkar Brahmogani hoja. Who knows? Some it might work, who knows? But you'll get a basic idea of what Advaita Vedanta tries to do. And then the next two stages, 6th and 7th, dukkha nivritti ananda prapti. যখন বুঝে গেল I am the 10th, 10টা লোক পেয়ে গেছে, তখন তার দুঃখ চলে গেল। The 10th person had drowned, that sorrow is gone, and then the joy comes that, yeah, we have found our friend, the 10th person. Similarly, I realize where. And remember, the entire process is a process in delusion. You really do not get anything that you did not have earlier. What was already there, but you thought for some reason it's not there, you regain that. All right. Let's try it. We will start with the body, then go to the breath, then go to the mind and the intellect, and then beyond into the darkness, and then try to turn inward. So that turn, nobody can do it for you. You have to do it for yourself. You have to ask yourself, to whom are these 5 appearing? 5 konta? Body, prana, breath, mind, intellect, and if you deny everything, just the blankness. Even the blankness is an experience. But to what? From that blankness, you have to turn. That turn. I don't know, but it's not, it's not like that. You have to do it sort of intuitively. So, if you're relaxed, solid, fine. What we can do is, first, let's draw our attention to the body. And remember, it is changing, Shavikar, it is a drishya, you can experience it, it is not conscious, and I am the unchanging, the drashta, the seer, I am conscious, therefore I am not the body. Step 1. Step 2, turn inwards, breathe in. Breathe in, breathe out, breathe in, breathe out, observe it. This breath, this breathing in and out, this physiological function, this is also subject to change. Shavika. This is also drishya. You're aware of it. It is an object, it is not the subject. And this is also not conscious. You are conscious of it. So I am the unchanging subject, consciousness. Breath is changing, object, not conscious. Therefore, I am not the breath. And I turn inwards. Don't stop breathing, bad idea. Let the breathing go on, let the body be there, but we turn inwards from the breath. Moon, mind, thoughts, emotions, ideas. These are going on. Am I those? Notice, they are also changing. They are also drishya. I am aware of them. Others may not be aware, but I am aware of these own ideas. And they are also not conscious. I am conscious of those contents of the mind. Therefore, I am not the mind. Turn further inwards. Inwards means more subtle. Intuitively. Buddhi. This very capacity which we are using now to reason and observe, that also is changing. It is a process. That also is an objective process. I am aware of it. I am the subject, drashta, or drishya. I am conscious of it. Buddhi is the idea that is not conscious of me. Therefore, I am not the buddhi also. Shavikari, drishya, jado. I am nirvikara, drashta, chetana. Further inwards, deeper inwards. Jadi সব শান্ত করে দেওয়া হয়. I am not seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, touching. I am quietening the mind, mon sthir kore, stillness, absolute stillness, quietness, sort of simulate the deep sleep experience. Ekdom blank. I am having an experience, ওটাকেও বন্ধ করে দিই. Absolute blankness. From there you turn inwards. To whom are these 5? From that blankness to the buddhi, to the mind, to the breath, to the body and the external world. Whom all these are appearing and disappearing to what? Like that dashamastvamasi turning inwards. Try to notice. not so easy. And if you lose track of it, just open your eyes, come back to the hall, then notice the body, then withdraw into the breath, notice the inflow and outflow of breath, then go a little further deeper, thoughts and feelings, the sensations in the mind, and then go deeper, the very process which we are undergoing, this thinking, philosophizing, then go a bit deeper, nothing, just blank, stop, drop, everything, zero, nil. To whom are these five appearing? Anandamaya, Vijnanamaya, Manomaya, Pranamaya, Annamaya. Ke dikhche egulo? That one, which is really unchanging, which is really the drashta, which is really consciousness, that I am. Take bole witness consciousness, Sakshi Chaitanya. All right, I think we have run out of time and the process is also complete. Quick summation. So where are we now? So various kinds of spirituality. There is a devotional, belief kind of spirituality, bhakti bala jete pare. There is a mystical, yogic kind of spirituality. That's one kind. There is a very philosophical, reflective, inquiring kind of spirituality which we talked about just now. Observing our own existence, starting with the body, subtler to the breath, subtler to the mind, subtler to the intellect, even subtler. And hopefully the claim is that you are this unchanging consciousness to which the mind, body, intellect are appearing, working, disappearing. Body ache, mon ache, personality ache, but you are not literally that. This insight, this is the crucial insight. This is not Advaita. Advaita will go further. But this is the key. I'm sure most of us here have sort of intellectually grasped what is being done here. More than intellectual grasping, what is there? If one can confidently say, it's real. Remember the three questions. What did he say? Did I get it? Is it real? What did he say? Hopefully. Do I get it? Many have got it, hopefully. Is it real? Very few can say the final end product is real. Conclusion. When we can say that, Advaita's claim is it is already real now. One monk said to me, you are missing it 1,000 times every moment. Kena Upanishad says, Pratibodha viditam matam amritatvam hi vindate. In every experience, you must be able to see yourself as pure consciousness. And that is the way to immortality. Kena Upanishad. It's available. Which experience? Not spiritual experience. Our quotidian day-to-day experience. এই যে এখানে বসে আছি, এই যে দেখছি, এই ভালো লাগছে না, বুঝতে পারছি না, কখন যে শেষ করবে, গল্প করে যাচ্ছে, এই যে experience, this itself is illumined. Kathopanishad আছে, Mundaka Upanishad আছে. There is brilliant verses. Tameva bhantam anubhati sarvam tasya bhasa sarvam idam vibhati. That shining, everything else shines. Mind, senses, world shines. By its light, everything here is lit up. আজকে আমরা consciousness studies এর কথা বলছি, but we have come to this hard problem of consciousness, So this is something that was talked about thousands of years ago, and it's a very, very vital thing. এই এক রকমের স্পিরিচুয়ালিটি। একজন আমাকে বলল, সাধু, উত্তর হিমালয়তে, উত্তরাখণ্ডে, দুই রাস্তে হে মহাত্মা জি, সাধুদের মহাত্মা বলে, দুটোই two paths, জানো ইয়া মানো। হয় জানো, জেনে যাও, বুঝে যাও, ধরতে পারো, যদি না পারো তাহলে বিশ্বাস করো। These are the only two ways in the spiritual life. Very good. Thank you so much. Thank you. Question answer I was thinking, there's a microphone here. Could I have a microphone? I think it's better if you come up here and make a queue and ask the questions instead of somebody running around with the microphone. Those of you who want to ask questions, you can come up here. Come up here, please come up here. Come out here. Careful with the wire, the cables. Shanta. Just tell us your name and ask the questions. Others can queue up here, just behind the gentleman.
Thank you, Swamiji. Thank you for the talk. Our name is Shubhi. I've heard your lectures.
I think there's a camera which you are obscuring.
I've heard a number of your lectures. when you come to non-duality, when Atman equals Brahman,
Yes.
and yet the world continues to appear as it is.
Yes.
The explanation that is given is it's all Maya.
Yes.
And you can call it ignorance and all of that. But to me, sometimes it seems like, if I may use the term, a cop-out.
Yeah.
Where you don't sort of explain why it is that, but you say it's Maya.
Mm.
So if you can explain a little more on that, that would be great.
Why it is what?
Why do we say that it is Maya? And if that is the case, then what is Maya? And then why is the universe appearing the way it is?
Right, so this is literally the biggest question one could ask. Why is the universe appearing at all? Alright, but it's a very natural question to ask. If you are saying that you are pure consciousness, you are awareness, and you are the one who experiences, what is all this then? But then the question remains, the shoring montai ba ki tahle? What is its relationship to the pure consciousness? So, here, and why is it appearing like this? Now let me stipulate one thing. What is happening within the appearance, if it is at all an appearance, what is happening within the appearance, I think that's the job of science. We are lucky to live in an age of science, which can give much better explanations of this world, call it real, appearance, whatever it is. So we leave it to science. What is happening here? How do you explain all this? That's the realm of science. But the global question, at all, if Vedanta is true, why is this universe appearing at all in Vedanta? Why do you call it Maya? What is it? This is the question. Now, Vivekananda says, this question is wrong. Like, immediately reaction might be it's a cop-out, then you're not willing to answer the question. The question is wrong. One can still ask, why is the question wrong? Atman, Brahman, consciousness, hote pare, but then why all this? Why even this body, mind and everything? And the answer is the question is wrong. Let me answer it in two ways. One is consciousness, the Sanskrit name Satchidananda Bala, existence, consciousness, bliss. It can either experience something or it may not experience anything. There are only two possibilities. Either you will experience something or you will not experience anything. Either there will be something or there will be nothing. These are the only logically two explanations. And notice, both are fulfilled. Jokhon amra jege achi, there is something. When we are dreaming, there is something. When we're in deep sleep, there's practically nothing. Deep sleep, coma, anesthesia, there's practically nothing. In your own phenomenological experience of life, there is a presentation and there is no presentation. These are two options, both are fulfilled. And if you take cosmologically, the way ancient Hindu thought worked, Srishti, Sthiti, Pralaya, Brahmanda, the whole universe is created, it exists, and then it dissolves. There is something, at one point there is nothing, and at some point there is something. So, it's a vector of vector, manifest and unmanifest. So, both logical alternatives are fulfilled. Imagine, there was nothing, just a thought experiment. Then one could, charge this Brahman or consciousness, and how, ki aparatto Brahma একটা কিছুই করে না এত কিছু করছে যখন তখন আমরা চার্জ করি কেন করছে এসব So these are the two possible alternatives. Now let me give a little deeper, more logical answer to this. Why is this question wrong? Notice when you ask the question, why all this? If you are pure consciousness, why all this? This is one form of the question. Another form is, if there's only one reality, why is it appearing as many? If it's at all an appearance. The question why, what kind of answer will satisfy you? Why, what are we asking for? We are asking for a cause. The answer to every why question is because. Why is it foggy? Because of the smog. Why is it smoggy? Because of the pollution. Why is it polluted? Because this winter layer, the smog has been pushed down to this level. Because. Now, the very definition of Maya is time-space causation. Tremendous similarities with Kant, by the way. Kant অনেক পরে, কিন্তু this time, দেশ-কাল নিমিত্ত বলে, time-space causation. Maya is time-space causation. Now, if you ask, what was there before time? the question is troubling because before and after are time words. The moment you ask what was there before time started, what was there? You are already accepting time when you say before and after. For time, you cannot logically ask a question of the form, what was there before time? Or space, if you ask what is outside space, that is not the correct form of the question because outside, inside are spatial terms. Similarly, causality, cause and effect. You cannot ask why for something that's prior to causality. Atman, Brahman is prior to Maya. Within Maya, you can ask why. Cause and effect. So you cannot ask a question why about causality. Causality is basically why. Does it make sense? Logically you can't force the question in that form. একজন মহারাজ আমাদের বলেছিলেন, খুব ইন্টারেস্টিং, he said that ultimately those who are enlightened, they don't have the question, they have the answer. We have the question, we don't have the answer on this side of enlightenment. On that side of enlightenment, they have the answer, but they have no question at all. Notice, those who are supposed to be enlightened, they don't seem to be bothered by this question anymore. So that's all that one can say, because this is a very most fundamental question. One book that may interest you, Why Does the World Exist? It's a Jim Holt, he's a science journalist in New York. He wrote this book, খুব interesting boy. He went around asking everybody, theoretical physics, Penrose ke dhorlen, Roger Penrose, mathematicians ke dhorlen, top level mathematicians, IT experts ke dhorlen, philosophers ke dhorlen. He went to theologians. He's asking the question, why does anything exist at all? And people are giving answers from their cutting edge work in their fields. Very interesting book, very dense, but very lucidly written. Why does the world exist? Jim Holt. That's one form of the question you are asking. Okay, we'll let you rest there. Tell us your name and ask the question.
নমস্কার স্বামী, তপন মণ্ডল। আমার কোশ্চেন হচ্ছে, গৃহীতে গৃহী যারা তাদের নিষ্কাম করতে গেলে, নিষ্কাম কর্ম করলে চিত্তশুদ্ধি হয়, এটা আমরা শুনেছি, জানি। তো এই নিষ্কাম কর্ম করতে গেলে কোন পথটা শ্রেয় হবে, এই জ্ঞান যোগ না শুদ্ধ ভক্তি যোগ?
Right. The question he's asking is, I mean, you should this so that for the benefit of everybody else. He's asking is, for householders, you purify yourself, the path of nishkama karma, selfless action. Is bhakti better there or jnana yoga better there? See, not just householders. Nishkam karma is for everybody. এই যে আমরা স্কুল, কলেজ, হাসপাতাল চালাই, রিলিফ কাজ করি, এগুলো সব আমাদের নিষ্কাম কর্ম। Right? And wherever you are, in whatever field you are in your professional field, in your family, this attitude of service as a philosophy of life. I am here, my attitude is, what can I do for you? Swami Ranganathananda, যিনি আমাদের president ছিলেন, the 13th president of our order, he used to say, spirituality is very simple. With my eyes closed, I find peace within me. With my eyes open, my attitude is, what can I do for you? That's spirituality. Generally, our attitude is just the opposite. With my eyes open, what can I get? And with my eyes closed, oh, ki ashanti. So it's just the opposite. You have deep peace within yourself, and your attitude towards the world is, what can I do here? Ki korte pari manusher jonno. So this is the attitude of Nishkam Karma. Now you can do it, it's a good question, you can do it both in the Jnana way and also in the Bhakti way. In the Bhakti way, my attitude is, I believe in God. Ishwar achen, Prabhu achen, Bhagavan, God achen. So whatever I do is like a worship of God. সেটা আমি পুজো ঘরে পুজো করতে পারি, আবার অফিসে এসে করতে পারি, কমিউনিটিতে এই যে কাজটা হচ্ছে এটাও একটা পুজো। This is one attitude of converting my daily work into worship. আমার মনে আছে একবার, very interesting experience, Lucknow airport দিয়ে আমি পাস করছিলাম, this was many years ago, I think 12-15 years ago. I was passing through Lucknow airport and I was the last passenger, it was a late flight, Kolkata আসছিল। ওই যে ওরা examine করে CISF, the Central Industrial Security Force, so they put you on top of a box, বাক্সে দাঁড়িয়ে they frisk you. ওই যিনি দাঁড়িয়েছিলেন সার্জেন্ট, উনি গেরুয়া দেখে বললেন, লখনৌ ইউপি, তো গেরুয়া দেখে বললেন, কুছ বাতাইয়ে, একটা লেকচার দিন। হ্যাঁ, এখন এখানে? হ্যাঁ, কেউ নেই, আপনি বলুন। And he called his other colleagues, তারা বন্দুক টন্দুক নিয়ে এসে হাজির, এখন একটা বলতে হবে। আমি বললাম যে দেখুন আপনি পুজো করেন বাড়িতে, হ্যাঁ जब घर से निकलते हैं हनुमान जी को फूल चढ़ाते हैं, বাড়ি থেকে বেরোবার সময় হনুমান জিকে আমি ফুল দিয়ে আসি, খুব ভালো। এই যে সারাদিন আপনি দাঁড়িয়ে আছেন 8 ঘন্টা 10 ঘন্টা 12 ঘন্টা ডিউটি করছেন, thousands of people pass before you. Now do one thing, mentally you frisk them, be polite, be respectful, and do one by one. এক একজনকে পাস করবেন, মনে মনে হনুমান এক এক ফুল চড়াইলে হনুমান জি को मन में। तो the gentleman very simple, तो उन्हीं की खुशी হলেন এটা শুনে। উনি বলছেন আরে বাহ দিন ভর হনুমান জি का पूजा, সারা দিন ধরে হনুমান জি পূজা করব। হ্যাঁ দেখো কি সুন্দর। This is the bhakti way of doing nishkam karma, converting every activity into a devotional act. Sister Nivedita বলছেন যে henceforth no division between the sacred and the secular. To labor is to pray. To have and hold is as stern a trust as to quit and renounce. The school, the classroom, the farmyard, the shop floor are as fit places for the meeting of God and man as the door of a temple or the cell of a monk. I'm literally quoting from Sister Nivedita. How to convert all our activity into spiritual practice. আচ্ছা একটা কথা বলি, যার বিষয়ে বলছি তিনি বাংলাতে খুব is one of the most prominent Bengalis of our time. বললে তিনি অত্যন্ত বিরক্ত হবেন, কিন্তু আমায় ভালোবাসেন, ক্ষমা করে দেবেন, তাই জন্য আমি বলছি। This is about Gayatri Chakravarti's Vivak. Have you heard of Gayatri's Vivak? Many of you have heard. So she is an emeritus professor at Columbia. She was very devoted, but she told me at one time she came to the Vedanta Society of New York many years ago. This was 1971-72, I don't know. Swami Pavitranandaji was there, who was my predecessor's predecessor there in New York. And she came and she said, Maharaj, amar oi Bhagavan ar bishwas nei. I don't believe in God. So, Swami, I don't believe in God anymore. And the Swami's reply to her was, I'll tell you in Bengali what he said, and then it translated to English. He said, immediately, he was not offended. He said, ki ar korbi, ebar tor adhyayani tor taposya. Adhyayani tor taposya. Ne, amta kha, and he pushed a mango towards her. He said, well, what can you do? From now on, let your academics be your spiritual practice. Let your academics be your spiritual practice. Here, take this mango. And he pushed a mango towards her. Now, she says that from that time onwards till today, whether I'm teaching in Columbia, whether I'm teaching at Sorbonne in Paris, or in Paschim Bangla, Pratyanta Grame, the girl child education on a school a project she's involved, everywhere I feel I'm doing spiritual practice. Economic. So this is spiritual practice, karma yoga spiritual practice without God. Ishwar chhara. Gyan yoga kora jete pare. Thank you. Gayatri di chote jabe na. উনিও তো দেখেন না, কিন্তু ওনার অনেক ছাত্র ছাত্রী আছে যারা এটাকে ধরিয়ে দেবে। দেখুন কি বলছে আপনার বিষয়ে, অনেক ভিডিওতে।
Pranam Maharaj, my name is Dipanshu. Really blessed to be part of this session. My question is, Maharaj, when you are trying to realize this truth, one is the part that you talked about, which is of self-inquiry, which somewhere gives a glimpse of non-duality. And the other is you follow bhakti, which starts with duality
and belief.
Yeah, duality and belief. Is there a way where, when you are doing sadhana, is there a way that these two could be compatible, or one can only do one at a time, only self-inquiry or only bhakti at a time?
They are compatible. In fact, in the initial stages, best to combine all four. That was Swami Vivekananda's insight, that Jnana Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, Karma Yoga, and Raja Yoga, meditation, they all should be combined. That's the safest and most harmonious path. And whatever I said now, in spite of all of that, the fact is, to begin with, it's better to begin with a faith or belief. Because it might be an interesting intellectual project to see where this leads, this inquiry into who am I. But it will not seem very real for until quite some distance in spiritual life. Another thing I'll just tell you, just throw it out there. I talk mostly about the path of self-inquiry. I've seen many people, especially young people, they come to the Vedanta Society in New York. They find it difficult to believe in God in a conventional sense, but they are spiritual seekers. And I've noticed one thing. They become very interested in self-inquiry, in Advaita Vedanta. 6 months later, 1 year later, they're also bhaktas. They get back a deep sense of that, yes, I can believe in God. This comes. So, answer to your question is, combine all four. Combine all four. Initially, big claim is Advaita Vedanta does not require you to believe in anything, it does not require any extraordinary experience, but in the initial stages, it's also belief. Until we begin to get it, and that's true of everything. Coming to ISI, going to a professor's classes, that is also belief. Unless you trust the professor, if you say the professor is not telling the truth, textbooks are all fake news, then you will never learn anything that way. So when you enter a class, when you enter any kind of knowledge project, there is a certain faith element involved there. And then that is verified afterwards. So also in Advaita Vedanta, practical thing is to start with belief. Yeah. Thank you. Practical and safe thing is to start with belief. Tell us your name and ask the question.
Maharajji, Pranam, I am Vitoji. I don't know if you recall from New York.
Right. Did we go for...
yes, we went for a walk in
Central Park. All right, yes.
So I actually have two questions. The first one is, as you were saying that maybe some people here and others who are hearing to you or reading books, maybe they intellectually understand that I am not this body, I am not this mind and kind of thing. But at the same time, say if I fall down, it hurts. Yeah. So is it still not a mystical experience when someone like say SWAMI Turiyananda or Ramakrishna says that, okay, it's totally different, I don't feel it.
Right. Right. Is it not a mystical experience? Straight answer, yes. However, then someone might say, but you're contradicting yourself, Swami. However, this mystical experience is nothing more than a deepening of what you call an intellectual understanding. You are Ritojit. Is it an understanding or an experience? It's both. It's experience, definitely, but it's also an understanding. So, what in the way of knowledge, what might start off as an understanding, if you stay with it, it will deepen, it will become a fact. It will become an absolute fact. There's no doubt. But you can call it a mystical experience also. And many mystics, if you do a study of the experiences of mystics, you will see that this clarity came after a mystical experience. But you're right. As long as you feel it's intellectual, you have to be careful. Many people ask, practical, practice and benefits. I'm not getting any benefit from it. How do I go? I understand it in the lecture. I understand it when I'm reading the book. But then how do I get the benefit from it? How do I practice it? I always say, don't practice. Learn, in the driving lot or something, first learn and then you take it for a spin. Until I get clarity, if I try to take it for a spin, I'll fail, definitely. There's a very nice example. Swami Turiyananda ji he had an operation done and the doctor said, I'm going to cut deep, we need to apply anesthesia, local anesthesia. And the Swami said, no, there's no need. So you cut up. And he did that. And a lot of witnesses are there. He was absolutely calm. It's not that he was in meditation or anything. Eji Prashnoda, this question which you asked, if I fall down, it hurts. The argument is, you said this is an object and this is also an object. I am not this, so I am not this. But there's a difference. If I do this, it doesn't hurt the table. Or at least I don't know. But if you pinch it, it hurts me. Right now it is hurting me. This question is asked to Shankaracharya in a book called Upadesha Sahasri. And that if body is burnt, it hurts. How can you say I am not the body? I am experiencing the pain. Then there's a subtle answer. Follow this answer carefully. If you get the answer, you will get a lot in Advaita Vedanta. Shankaracharya's answer is this. So you experience pain. Yes. Then is that pain also not an object? It is an object. Object means what? It's presented to consciousness. It's an object. This is an object. And the pain, when you pinch it, the pain, notice it carefully, it's also an object appearing in consciousness. And I am the consciousness, I am not the pain. One sadhu put it very nicely, Hindi, I'll tell you in Hindi and translate. He said, basically, how do you apply Advaita Vedanta? He said, जो जहां का चीज है महात्मा जी उसको वहीं रहने दो যেটা যেখানকার জিনিস ওটাকে ওইখানেই থাকতে দাও don't misplace whatever belongs to which place you keep it there don't misplace things what does it mean pain belongs to the body it doesn't belong to you it's something here is the body here is pain both are objects to you the consciousness what do we do I am in pain no I am aware of pain that Swami Turiyananda ji he didn't seem to experience anything he was sitting quietly and the operation was going on. But the very interesting thing happened next day when the doctor came to change the dressing on the wound. And he changed the dressing. Suddenly Turiyananda ji, he shouted. Swami Turiyananda was a disciple of Sri Ramakrishna. He shouted in pain. In Bengali, oh, ki korcho? What are you doing? The doctor was surprised. He said, I understand it burns, it hurts. But yesterday actual operation was performed and you were calm and peaceful. How is this? Turiyananda ji says with a little bit of irritation, Bengali he said, "Are bolbe to monta tule nitam." Should have told me. I would have taken my mind away from that. Or taken my mind away from that in what sense? That's the question. However, as you said, intellectually, in that case, a problem is there. If I have understood it intellectually, then the problem is when time comes to apply it, it will not work. So there are funny stories there that one of our monks had to have an operation. Probably an apocryphal story, but you have to have an operation, and the doctor said, we need local anesthesia in the hand. And this monk said, oh, I am the witness consciousness, the body is an object, pain is an object, and Chidananda Rupa Shivoham. You cut, no problem. The doctor said, Swami, are you sure? Yes. The moment the knife cut the skin, oh, stop. Anesthesia. Then what happened? You are the witness consciousness, what happened to you? So, वो किताब का बात किताब में रह गया साला वही को तो वही ही रहेगा वो साला तूने एनेस्थेसिया लगा और that's the problem वही को तो वही ही exactly but at least even understanding intellectually is a big step forward you begin to see it a key type of spirituality all right we take up the questions very quickly we don't have
just
much
one if I
yes.
can just one more this can be a misunderstanding on my part. But what I understood is that when you inquire like this, I am not this body, I am not this mind. Yes, I am the self, which is kind of a witness consciousness. But so what I understood is that other philosophies are there who try to say that yes, I am still the witness consciousness, but it is not the whole God. Somebody will say this is part of the God. Somebody will say this is different from God. But yes. Everyone is saying that I am not the body, I am the witness consciousness. So how do we really in this argument or in this intellectual exercise actually try to see whether this is whole of God, this is part of God?
Yeah, whole, part, God. No, you might even raise the question, where is the need of God anymore? You are the witness consciousness, that's it. So this is the Sankhyan answer. Sankhya will stop here without any God question. Then the Vishishta Advaita will say this is a part of God, not the whole of God like that. You have to argue it out to see for yourself what suits you best. So Advaita Vedanta is very clear and elegant arguments. After this stage, what we did is only the first stage in Advaita, but of course the most important stage. It will unlock the other steps. But you argue it out and see for yourself what clicks for you. Yes.
Good evening, gentlemen. Shatabda, I'm so blessed to be part of this seminar and to finally meet you in person. Swamiji, I have a question. Like you've talked about life, its essence and consciousness. Now, Swamiji, in our material lives, we barely get time to even realize it or understand it. Now, in our perspective, like in our perspective, we look at our ambitions, our attainments, what we need to do, etc., etc. So, is there a balance between the two, or how should our perspective change when we look at our ambitions, what we need to do in our lives, how much money should we get, where all should we study?
True. All of these will fall into perspective when I have a goal in life. So, if I have a clear goal in life, that my goal in life is God realization, enlightenment, moksha, whatever you call it, then everything else will fall in perspective. What should I do in life? How much money do I need to, what kind of life do I want to lead? What is my entertainment? What is my career? এগুলো সবগুলো একটা perspective পেয়ে যাওয়া যাবে। I mean, Mahatma Gandhi, I always give this example. He writes that, who am I? When some people think I'm a freedom fighter. Some people think I'm a politician. Some people think I am a social reformer. All of those are true. But if you ask me, I am a simple man in search of God. Notice, being a simple man in search of God did not prevent him from doing 100 different things. But all of them were given a unifying philosophy and perspective because of this philosophy, that I am a simple man in search of God. Develop a personal philosophy. Say, Ami K basically, who am I? Another way, 3 circles. What, how, why? I learned it from Apple.
Yeah, Simon Sinek also says.
Simon Sinek, Apple company, with a philosophy. So most companies only do what? কি প্রডিউস করছে, কেউ কম্পিউটার করছে, কেউ আলমারি করছে, কেউ করছে, কেউ গাড়ি করছে। But Apple, they say that we start with a why. At all, why are we doing this? So that's why the way they promote themselves. They say that we're looking for elegance and beauty and engineering, perfection engineering, etc. How? Through a variety of products. What? তখন হয় iPad, iMac, but all of them, there's a unique design philosophy behind it. It comes from a why. You do that for yourself.
But pardon me for asking this, Shamji. If we think so highly of ourselves, or so lowly of ourselves in that matter, we are nobody in that way. Don't you think that we won't get that extra push to do more or go out more, try more?
You can. See, Swami Vivekananda put it this way. He said, follow your own highest ideal. That is the quickest path to progress. So therefore, right now, think and sit and think, what appeals to me? You'll find 2 or 3 things which appeal to you. Among them, which do you think is the highest? Highest means most noble. And follow that. You may change it after 5-10 years. And he says, Swamiji says, it is the quickest path to progress. It should be your own ideal. Now, it's not something that I read in a book or I feel I should do this, something that my parents are imposing on me or society is imposing on me. I should do it. Another way to do it is, ekhane Kolkata te ache ekti chele, Vinayak Lohani. He started this IIT Kharagpur, tarpore IIM Jokat theke pore. Suddenly, he dropped out of the whole corporate race and he started an orphanage for children. Parivar bole, if you Google it, you will find it. Started with 3 kids from the street. So somebody asked him at a program, college students. Some students asked him, how did you decide to do this? He said, I did not. I first thought, what should I do with my life? And I got no answer. Then I started, this is the uniqueness of his thinking. He said, I started thinking, what is it that I don't want to do? Do I want to be a corporate executive like my batchmates? My heart said no. Do I want to be an academician like my professor? My heart said no. It's your children. And then suddenly one day I saw those children on the footpath. They need me right now. I can help them. He said, I'll do that. Another thing he said, somebody asked him, how did you get this idea? He said, it did not start with an idea. It started with a feeling. Heart is first in any great endeavor. It starts with a feeling. Vivekananda also, feel like a Buddha and you will be a Buddha. Feel like Jesus, you will be Jesus. It starts with a feeling. Then comes a question of the idea. How do you do things? And then execution. So these are some hints I can give you. So if you go to a textbook of Advaita Vedanta, they will say moksha is the goal of life. Dharma, Artha, Kama, lower goals. You must move from that to moksha. And they are right. Ultimately, we will all come to that conclusion. But we must take our time. It must feel real for us, not however.
Good. Thank you so much.
Namaskar, Swamiji. My name is Rishiraj. I have 2 questions. The first is regarding the argument you mentioned about why we are the self is distinct from the body, mind, consciousness, etc. So, why? My question is, why is this not a cyclic argument? In the sense that, aren't we assuming already that there is a distinct I who is experiencing all these things.
Yes, that is true. And so then you have to look for evidence. Do we not assume this distinct I for everything? For personal identity, for purposes of law, relationship, politics, economics, सब जगह continuous I is assumed self.
Okay, so there is an attached for all practical purposes.
There is a
attached for all practical purposes is what.
For all practical, that's where you can start. Now there are variations on this. So the Buddhist will tell you that yes, but that's an illusion. It's a continuous I is an illusion. But that also is a self-inquiry, inquiry into oneself. I'm giving a broad idea of non-dual spirituality. Buddhist also does the same thing, Advaitin does the same thing, Sankhyan does the same thing. They are formulated with different metaphysics. But broadly speaking, they are inquiring into our experience of ourselves. Look at it from the perspective of Descartes. One thing you cannot deny is the existence of the I. You can deny everything. This can be a matrix, like a matrix cinema. This can be a simulation. But you cannot deny you are seeing the simulation.
My question was about, not about the existence of the I, but the distinctness, like assumption.
Yeah. So, yeah, there's a lot of argumentation one can do about that. The distinctness. Notice that you are right in one sense. Body I, mental I, these are distinct. They're separate. They keep changing. But the real unchanging I, or the one unitary I which we can be talking about, that was achieved or that is realized only as contentless consciousness. সেখানে distinction হতে পারবে না. Right? Okay. Think about it. Just we'll complete it because we're really not out of time.
Myself, Abhishek. I have one particular question. You talked about pure consciousness. So what is the nature of this pure consciousness?
Yeah.
Is it all darkness or light?
Yeah.
And do we not need a material thing to experience that pure consciousness?
Very good question. Notice, what is the question? What is the nature of light itself? Is it darkness or light? Is light light or is light darkness? What I mean by that is, when you look at outer space, it looks dark, black, but it's full of sunlight streaming through it. When you see the tail of a comet blazing forth in all its glory, it does not have its internal lighting. It's just reflecting sunlight. But without the comet, that place looked completely dark. I mean, অনেক বছর আগে comet দেখেছি আকাশে, so I was thinking that that's true. The place is full of light, the darkness of space, but it looks dark. Now your question is, without an object to reflect it, light is not made manifest. So this is what it boils down to. What does consciousness do for the object? By object I mean everything that we experience. World, body, mind, everything. And what does the object do for consciousness? Like, what does this light do for this hall? And what does the hall do for this light? The light illuminates the hall. Without the light, you would not see. Everything would be in darkness. And the hall manifests the light. Hall not empty space like the light is there, but it will not be manifest. Similarly, consciousness and object. What does consciousness do for the object? Consciousness plus object is experience, anubhava. First person experience. This is the whole crux of the hard problem of consciousness. How does this happen? How are we getting first person experience? Pleasure, pain, joy, all of that. So consciousness plus object is experience. Just see all our experiences. The same equation applies to every experience we have. External, sensory, mental, every experience we have is consciousness plus object. So what does consciousness do for the object? It illumines, it reveals the object. It experiences the object. What does the object do for consciousness? It manifests consciousness. In fact, the Sankhyan and Advaitic idea of deep sleep is interesting. There was a conference in the Institute of Culture, Kolkata, many years ago, about 20 years ago. And one philosopher, Sankhyan philosopher, and a neuroscientist, they were in conversation about nature of deep sleep. So the philosopher asked the neuroscientist, so in neuroscience, modern neuroscience, is there consciousness in deep sleep? This was 20 years ago. Now they've changed their approach. So he said, no, we have an operational definition that in deep sleep there is no consciousness. Then the Sankhya philosopher said, see, in Sankhya and Advaita, in deep sleep there is only consciousness, nothing to be conscious of. But it looks blank, completely like nothing. So the object manifests consciousness. Consciousness illumines the object, reveals the object, experiences the object. This is what they do. But this is not Advaita, this is Sankhya. Advaita goes one step forward and says that because at this point you can say that consciousness is dependent on the object. And in Sankhya it is true. But Advaita Vedanta, they say the object also is nothing other than consciousness appearing to itself through Maya as an object. So the object also depends on consciousness. Consciousness is the ultimate reality. This is the Advaitic perspective. Anyway, this is all metaphysics.
Thank you so much, Sanji. Thank you, Maharaj, for my pranam to you. So my question is,
tell us your name and ask the
my name is Shujoy Datta. So you told us about monomoy, pranomoy, the 5 things, right? The physical body, the breathing, pranomoy. So my question is, when a person stands in front of a mirror and is looking at his own reflection, he can see the annamaya, which is the physical body, and the pranamaya, the breathing.
You cannot
also.
see it, but you can experience.
You can experience and also see the reflected image.
Yes.
But coming to the other things, that is monomaya, vijnanamaya, and anandamaya. So these are also object to the senses and are not consciousness, as you were telling.
These
us.
are object to consciousness, but they are not object to the senses. For example, mind. You cannot see the mind. You cannot see, hear, smell, taste the mind. Right? The mind is subjective. The mind and the intellect, they are all objects, but they appear, they are first person. They appear to you in your private experience. They are not public. What's the difference between the mind and the body? The body is public. You can see the body and your doctor can see the body. Doctor can examine the body and know more about your body than you know yourself. But the mind is available to you only.
So is it consciousness which is experiencing the mind?
Yes, consciousness experiencing the mind, and through the mind, the body and the world.
Okay, so the question is, when we start looking inwards, and as you told in the story, we discovered the 10th person, which is consciousness. Is it the real consciousness or some form of a reflected consciousness which we will be able to discover?
The 10th person which we discover when we look inwards is the real consciousness, is Sakshi Chaitanya. The reflected consciousness is a technical term from Vedanta called reflected consciousness, Chidabhasa. That is what we are feeling right now. We all feel conscious. We all feel aware. Now, is this awareness what you are talking about in Vedanta? No. This is like reflected awareness. The relationship between the two is like sunlight and moonlight. Moonlight is also sunlight. And moonlight is that which illumines the earth at night. But at night you don't see the sun at all. But it's the moonlight which is the sunlight. Now the earth is like this world which we experience, the moon is like the mind, and sun is like the Atman or pure consciousness. This is an example. This is an example which is used. So the moonlight is what is like the reflected consciousness. What we are all experiencing right now, I am aware. So is this awareness Atma? No. It's a reflection of the Atma.
And one small question, I understand time is only
Yes.
left. The thing is, you were talking about 2 paths and God seeking, right? So one thing which has always, I feel confused, and that's why I'm asking you, Maharaj. So when we go to Dakshineshwar, we see the image of Goddess Kali, right?
Yes.
But where is the question of faith? Because when we see the Holy Mother as a devotee and we read in her about her life, that she herself is telling to Shibu Dada, right? That ha ami Kali. Then where is the question of faith? It is directly observed, right?
It's not, but the question of faith is that you observe it and you feel that faith, but there are like maybe half the audience.
She is herself telling, right?
Even if she herself tells, half the audience might not be convinced. Might say, I don't believe it. But none of them will say, I don't exist, I don't believe in my own existence. That's crazy. So this is the difference.
Okay.
If you have that faith, you're blessed. But others may not have that blessing of faith. Others may not believe in it. Alright, let's do this quickly. Tell us your name and ask the question.
বিনয় আমার যে কোশ্চেনটা ছিল মানে মনুষ্য জন্মের প্রত্যেকের কিছু উদ্দেশ্য থাকে তো সেই উদ্দেশ্যটা খুঁজে পাওয়ার পর যখন সেই রাস্তা চলার পথে পরপর বাধা আসে বা কোনো কারণে সেইটা ফিল হয় না মানে সেই ফুলফিল হয় না তো আমাদের কি সেই রাস্তায় কি মানে আবার চলা উচিত নাকি সেই রাস্তা নিজেকে মানে চলার আগে ইন্ট্রোস্পেক্ট করা
উদ্দেশ্য ছাড়া আমরা থাকতে পারি না we will have a meaning or purpose in life and this is the beauty of it that আমরা বলি আমরা রিলিজিয়নের কাছ থেকে শিখি that moksha, nirvana, God realization is the purpose of human life. ঠাকুর বলছেন, শ্রীরামকৃষ্ণ বলছেন, ভগবান লাভই, ঈশ্বর লাভই জীবনের উদ্দেশ্য। We may think, না, that's not my objective, এটা কিছু একটা ধর্মীয় ব্যাপার। But it's a very wise observation. এটা ঘুরে ফিরে আমাদের কিন্তু ওইখানেই পৌঁছায়। We may give a different name to it. We may call it transcendence or something like that. But ultimately we have to come there. Everything in this world is limited, and every goal that you pursue, academic excellence, relationships, worldly success, politics, doing good to others, activism, whatever you pursue, there's a limit to it. And at one point, you will feel either it's not fulfilling you, or you feel frustrated, you look for something beyond. So this looking for beyond, is there any end to it? There is an end. That end is called enlightenment, God realization, moksha, nirvana, jaivana. And that's there for every human being. We may put it in the background. I'm right now not pursuing. I'm trying to get a PhD, which is good. But it should always be in the background. There's an ultimate transcendence available to me. A very high goal available to me, to everybody in this world. That was the beauty of this kind of thinking. That this element of transcendence, that kind of thinking. Otherwise, even in the best of societies, in the UK they started a ministry of loneliness. There's like Montri, loneliness Montri. Tini lonely ki naam jani na. This is the thing. When you achieve more or less a good society, a civil society, onek kichu bhalo ache, you have education, prosperity, shobi motamoti bhalo. Then nothing. Complete meaninglessness and a purposelessness. যতক্ষণ একটা pressure থাকে, economic pressure, competition, we are busy. But if that is taken away, you get more or less what you want reasonably. Then what? I've seen especially Indian students, যারা অনেক কষ্ট করে, তোমাদের মধ্যে many of you will do that. অনেক কষ্ট করে ওখানে গেল, আমেরিকা থেকে ইউরোপে কোথাও গেল, and they get established 5-10 বছর পরে, you have got basically reasonably whatever you wanted, you've got. Then you might say, তাই তো খুব ভালো, then জিজ্ঞেস করে কি দরকার, you will ask at that time. Then আমার এখনো মনে আছে, walking in Central Park, সামনে billionaires row, যেখানে সব Manhattan billionaire থাকে, and an young Indian man walking with me. I never thought about spirituality. আমি ছোটবেলা থেকে বাবা মা কষ্ট করে আমাকে পড়িয়েছেন. They sent me to a good engineering college. I did my engineering, খুব পরিশ্রম করে. I got a job. I work in Wall Street. Every month I earn more than my father earned in his whole lifetime. Every month I earn more than my father earned in his whole lifetime. And I think, what's the point of it all? I asked my parents, ab kya karna? And they said, pata nahi, hum log yahin tak jante the. They are very, very natural. We knew only this. Amra koshto kore tomake manush kore okhane patiye dilam. Ebar, we don't know. We don't even know why you're asking this question. So bolche amar to kichhui bhalo lagche na ekhane. So you get everything, and then you find suddenly, like the rug being pulled out from under your feet, it's not all that fulfilling. There must be something more. Houston Smith Bolchen in his book Religions of the World, after you have listened to Bach and Beethoven, after you have sampled the best of art and music and culture, a sneaking question comes up at the back of your mind. Is that all? Isn't it enough, we may ask? No, it is not enough. If you're honest, you will say that enough.
मैं मनोज कुमार पांडे जी, स्वामी जी का शिक्षक नमन। एक प्रश्न है मेरा, हर एक जीव में एक चेतना रूपी ब्रह्म है, हर एक जीव में। क्या हमारे अस्तित्व ज्ञान के बाद ये जन्म लेता है, या ये हमारे अंदर रहता है, जिसको कि और कोई शक्ति की जरूरत नहीं है इसको जागृत करने के लिए? ये मेरा छोटा सा प्रश्न।
आपको ऐसे बताएं, अद्वैत कहता है कि ऐसा नहीं है कि हर एक जीव में चेतना रूपी ब्रह्म है, ऐसा भी नहीं। अद्वैत कहता है कि हर एक जीव वही है, आप वो चेतना रूपी ब्रह्म ही है। ऐसा मत सोचिए कि हम में कोई ब्रह्म है, जैसा मेरा लिवर है, किडनी है, उसमें एक ब्रह्म भी है कहीं पर, ऐसा नहीं है। यू आर दैट। और एक बार उसको हासिल करने के बाद, ये उपलब्धि होने के बाद, फिर ये जन्म मृत्यु की चक्र ये समाप्त हो जाती है। दिस इज ये हमारी साधारण धारणा है, लेकिन ये भी तब it becomes meaningless at that time. Actually, when you become enlightened, it's not that you realize, oh, I have been going through many lifetimes of births and deaths, now it is all over, যেমন আমাদের শেখানো হয়েছে গল্পটা, this whole series of births and deaths will end. No, you will actually realize from that perspective of limitless consciousness, there was no birth, no death. শরীরের জন্ম মৃত্যু একটা সিনেমার মতন দেখা দিয়েছিল। I am perfectly fine, and so is everybody from that perspective. That does not mean at the level of the world all problems are solved. Right. So that's that. Thank you. Last question. Okay, make it good.
হ্যালো, সত্যম ব্রহ্ম অনন্তম ব্রহ্ম অহম ব্রহ্মাস্মি আর শিব জ্ঞানে জীব সেবা, এই তিনটে কনটেক্সটকে মাথায় রেখে আমরা যদি সায়েন্টিফিক একটা জাস্টিফিকেশন খুঁজতে চাই, তো একদিন আমরা স্বপ্নে পেলাম যে সাবঅ্যাটমিক এনভায়রনমেন্টে যদি আমরা দেখি, স্পেস বলুন বা আমার সবার মধ্যে, সেটা কিন্তু অনেক সিমিলারিটি আছে একটা অদ্ভুত। 99% স্পেস, বাকিটা ম্যাটার। তো এটা কি কোনোভাবে আমরা ব্রহ্মাকে ইকুয়েট করতে পারবো?
ইকুয়েট করতে যাবেন, but it's a good analogy. It's a good analogy. Yes. For the background existence consciousness, yes, it's a good analogy.
দ্বিতীয় প্রশ্ন হচ্ছে,
আবার দ্বিতীয়,
আমি আপনাকে মেল করেছিলাম কিন্তু মানে পাইনি বলে
ছোট প্রশ্ন, পরে শেষ কর বাড়ি যাবো।
ছোট প্রশ্ন, ট্রানজাকশনাল কনসিয়াসনেসে বা জাগ্রত স্টেটে আমি যে গুড কর্মা বা ব্যাড কর্মা করছি, সেটা কি আমার সোলকে এফেক্ট করছে?
It is affecting my subtle body. সোল যখন বলছো সূক্ষ্ম শরীর, আমার মনকে এফেক্ট করছে, মনকে এফেক্ট করছে। আত্মা চৈতন্য কনসিয়াসনেস ইজ নট এফেক্টেড।
আর মহারাজ আরেকটা বলতে চাই, আপনি যে ডিটাচমেন্টের কথাটা বললেন, আমিও প্র্যাকটিসিং ডেন্টিস্ট একজন, তো আমরা পেশেন্টকে যখন লোকাল অ্যানাস্থেসিয়া দিই, আমরাও কিন্তু মাইন্ডটাকে ডাইভার্ট করার চেষ্টা করি এবং ইট ওয়ার্কস, ইট রিয়েলি ওয়ার্কস।
It really works, yes.
Thank you.
It's true.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
আমি অমিতাভ, শেষ প্রশ্ন, আমরা আবার কবে আপনাকে পাবো?
Let's see. Talk to the organizers. Well, every time I come to Calcutta, I'll be delighted to come here.
Thank you so much.
হ্যাঁ, আচ্ছা ঠিক আছে, লাস্ট বাট সবাই বসে আছে কিন্তু, make it quick.
নমস্কার মহারাজ, আমি প্রসেনজিৎ সাহা। আমার প্রশ্নটা একটু অন্য ধরনের। আমি হাই স্কুল টিচিং এ রয়েছি 18 ইয়ার্স ধরে। একটা র্যাডিক্যাল চেঞ্জ দেখছি সমাজে, মানে আমাদের এই বেঙ্গলে স্কুল স্টুডেন্টসদের মধ্যে মোরাল চেঞ্জ মূলত। তো আমি একটু জানতে চাইছিলাম নন ডুয়াল স্পিরিচুয়ালিটি, অদ্বৈত আধ্যাত্মিকতার প্রয়োগটা, প্র্যাকটিসটা আমরা ওদের মধ্যে কিভাবে ইনকালকেট করতে পারবো? উইকলি একটা করে মেডিটেশনের ক্লাস থাকে।
হ্যাঁ, আমি বুঝতে পেরেছি। এই চারটে প্র্যাকটিস, গুড কোয়েশ্চেন। চারটে প্র্যাকটিস।
নমস্কার মহারাজ।
একটা হচ্ছে সার্ভিস, অন্যদের জন্য কিছু করা, যেমন ক্লাসরুমটা পরিষ্কার করা, কিছু সামথিং দ্যাট আমরা বাচ্চাদের কিছু করতে দিই, ইটস রিয়েলি ব্যাড। আমার চোখ খুললো ও দেশে গিয়ে, এভরি লিটল থিং they encourage the kids to do everything from the childhood. মানে আমি দেখছি সেন্ট্রাল পার্কে ছোট্ট এইটুকু শিশু, সে ক্যান্ডি র্যাপার ছুঁড়ে ফেললো, সঙ্গে সঙ্গে তার দিদি সে এইটুকু, সে ছুটে এসে ওটাকে তুলতে যাচ্ছে, ও মা বলছে স্টপ, হোয়াট ডিড ইউ ডু? ছোট্ট বাচ্চা থেকে পিক ইট আপ, সবাই তাকিয়ে আছে তার দিকে, সব থেমে গেল ওখানে, ও গিয়ে ওটাকে তুলে। This kind of teaching, every little thing, from cleaning to taking care of your own clothes, your toys, এই জিনিসগুলো, so service to others, number one. Working, especially work. Second is a daily meditation or weekly meditation. Third is devotional practice. It encourage করবে কিন্তু যে যার ধর্মতে, so you cannot impose religion. Actually devotional practice is a religion আর institution secularism এর সমস্যাটা, এটা basically devotional practice নেই। অন্য সব প্র্যাকটিস গুলো কিন্তু ইম্পার্সোনাল, দে আর নট যাকে বলে সাম্প্রদায়িক। সো ডিভোশনাল প্র্যাকটিস এনকারেজ পিপল ইন देयर ওন রিলিজিয়ন, এটা এনকারেজ করবে। তারপরে লাস্ট ইজ সেলফ এনকোয়ারি। এখন হু এম আই, ইট মাইট বি ভেরি সফিস্টিকেটেড, কিন্তু এই আইডিয়াটা ইজ ভেরি সিম্পল, ইট ক্যান বি ইন্ট্রোডিউসড টু চিলড্রেন, দিস উইল হেল্প টু সাম এক্সটেন্ট। থ্যাংক ইউ ভেরি মাচ।
Gracias. ঠিক আছে, আমি যেতে যাচ্ছি লাইব্রেরি।
আমি রাস্তা করে নিয়ে যাচ্ছে বললো